What's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to compare the original arcade classic Berserk versus the original ports of Berserk for the Atari 2600, the Atari 5200, and the Vectrex. Join me as I go absolutely Berserk. Alright, so first things first, let's take a look at the original arcade classic by Stern. This is Berserk, the cocktail version. A very minty example here. Everything about this thing is just in total mint. The only thing that sucked about this thing is that the grommet for the player 1 joystick was completely fucked. And it was stuck on there too. It was like rusted on, and so I had to cut the damn thing off in order to put the new grommet on. I could not get it. I tried soaking it in 3-in-1 oil. I tried, hitting the bottom of it with the hammer the best I could. I did everything that I could, and I could not get it off, so I decided just to cut the damn thing off. But now the joystick is just amazing feeling. Like when the bad grommet was in it, you had to kind of He-Man it a little bit, and you would get like past like the third or fourth screen and your hand would be hurting, so you'd have to like switch hands. Like I thought about wearing some workout gloves just to get through it so I could play a game, but now I don't have to because it has the nice grommet. Anyhow, let's play this a little, take a look at it. Alright, so let's go ahead and coin it up here. I can't find the hole. It's dark. And get a coin in there. Let's do another one. And that gives you 3 credits for the 2 coins. That's pretty cool. Alright, let's go. The speech on this game, so incredible. Sounds so cool. With that new grommet and the joystick, it just feels so good. Like this feels like a brand new game. The monitor looks brand new too.
Intruder alert, intruder alert.
There's Evil Otto there, coming at us.
The humanoid must not escape.
You can pull the diagonal shots off really well with this joystick grommet. Oh, and then oh jeez. That was pretty bad. Ooh, jeez. Man, that guy was on me. So I'm not going to be able to get this guy. Well, I could, but I don't want to. So I'm getting referred to as a chicken. Chicken, fight like a robot. Destroy. Jeez. Oh, man.
Intruder alert, intruder alert. The humanoid must not escape.
It looks like I am, though. Oh, man, the white guys. Oh. I did not last long. And so I'm going to play one more time here. It always flips the screen in the cocktail, like, right after you play. Which is interesting. The first screen, the robots are really ridiculously slow, but they seem to ramp up in speed fairly quick. It's like they're giving you like a little bit of an opportunity to get used to the game. But once you get used to it, they kick your ass, because obviously the goal is to get as many quarters out of your pockets as they possibly can. We've already gone to the red robots with the second room here. And you can see that they're a little bit faster, but not by much. And Evil Otto is not going to catch me this time around. So now we're in the third room. And we're still dealing with the red robots, and man, that guy just got a headshot, I think. Doing a little bit better this time around, but not by much. I'm fairly certain that the dip switches are set to hard in this. But I'm not 100%. That's the funny thing about Berserk, is you can get close to the walls, and sometimes the robots will just slam right in, or they'll shoot each other. So I'm not. Oh, Evil Otto took that guy out. All right, we're still dealing with the red robots here. This guy's sneaky, and Evil Otto's coming at me real quick. Oh, now we're on the whites. Oh man, that didn't take long, did it? Anyhow, that's the arcade game. It's hard as hell. You know, I usually do a little bit better than that, but not this time, I guess. But yeah, such an epic arcade game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first port of it. Alright, let's play some of this. I'm actually going to be using my Heavy Sixer through RF on a 13-inch Sony Trinitron TV that does have some slight geometry issues, like a lot of Trinitrons nowadays do. Let's do this. So right away you'll notice that the graphics are much larger than they are on the arcade game. And you'll notice that there's no voices. However, I gotta say that this feels really good. And this was always my favorite port growing up. And I remember playing it not too long after it came out. Maybe a couple years or so. Maybe even a year or so. My cousins actually had an Atari 2600, and I had the Intellivision and a Commodore 64. And so when they came over to my house, they liked to play the Intellivision, and when I went over to their house, I always tried to play their Atari 2600, but they were really greedy with it. And so it was pretty rare that I actually got to just sit down and play a game on my own. But I do recall once I finally got an Atari 2600 of my own. This is one that I played the hell out of. There's actually a lot of different game modes for this game. There's actually a mode where you can temporarily stun Evil Otto when he comes out, which is pretty cool. And I really like all the different colors of robots and everything, and it's just a shame that it didn't talk. Now, way later on, like way later on, there is actually a different version that came out, like a homebrew version that came out for the Atari 2600 that utilized the Atari Vox, which allowed for some speech. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the original arcade game versus the original arcade ports. And, you know, I can tell you that this is so much easier than the arcade original. And I say that as I get zapped to death, right? That was very intentional, though, because I kind of wanted to end this, because I think you get the point. I still have 2 lives left, and I'm just throwing them away. This is one of those... See, and the robots are kind of dumb in this compared to the arcade as well. This is one of those ports that you can just play for hours on end, because like it's just significantly easier than the arcade original. But it controls really well. It looks really good. And I'm just going to kill myself off now so we can move to the next one. Boom. But yeah, this is an excellent version of Berserk. So now we're at my Vectrex, and I don't have the original Berserk for the Vectrex, but I do have a multi-cart that has it on it. And I don't have the original overlay, but I do have a Web Wars overlay, so we're going to go with that so we have some color going on. 1982 Berserk. We'll go with one player. And so right away, we'll state the obvious that it's vector graphics because it's on the Vectrex. Go figure, right? And you'll also notice that it runs fairly slow. And there's no speech. But it does look cool. And it does play really well with the Vectrex joystick. Like, the diagonals are really easily achieved. The AI is fairly decent. And, you know, you got Evil Auto there, which seems to run faster than anything and everything. Just like the arcade original, the first few screens seem really easy. Oh geez, oh no. Man, I love this joystick with this game. It feels really good. And I did finally get taken out there. I like the sounds for this game, for this port. Wah, wah. Go, 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 go. The robots look kind of funky, not gonna lie. They don't really look like robots. Like, I guess they kind of do, but they for sure don't have the same look to them as the other games. I don't know how the hell you get that one. I guess you just kind of gotta get it close and maybe it'll hit the wall. Either way, we're running away. Oh man, this port just feels amazing. I like it. I like it a lot. I didn't have this back in the day. I didn't have a Vectrex until much later on in life. And the first Vectrex that I came across, it was super cheap. I think I paid like a couple bucks for it or something. But it didn't come with the joystick, and the monitor was out. Or, well, it went out. And so I ended up getting rid of it. And I didn't have a Vectrex for a long time after that. Until I found this Vectrex. And this Vectrex was not cheap. I got it from my favorite game store, Games Ahoy. And I think with the two joysticks, no games, no overlays, and you know, obviously the unit itself, I think I paid $5.50 for everything. But I did do some trading. And so since I traded in some stuff, I think I only had to put down like close to $300 in cash, which is still a lot to drop on just about anything in my opinion. But oh geez. Intense. But I have one, and it works really well, and I love this thing. I remember I knew a kid in the 80s that had one, and I was insanely jealous of it. Got you, humanoid. You sure did, buddy. And so this is another example of a Berserk port that's much easier than its arcade original. And so I'm just kind of... They're going slow again too, and you'll notice the more robots on screen, the slower they all kind of go. See how that guy's going a little faster now that we've killed off all of his buddies? Anyhow, I'm gonna let Evil Otto kill me, because I think you get the point here, and we'll just kill ourselves. And that's Berserk on the Vectrex. I like it. Let's move on to the final example. Alright, so this will be the last official port that we look at today. This is for the Atari 5200, and none of my Atari 5200 joysticks worked. Unfortunately, when I went to play this again, they sat too long. I tried cleaning the contacts on the Mylars and everything, and they just refused to work. Luckily, I still had a brand new Rev 9 Mylar set aside, and I went ahead and put it in a joystick, and it works great now. Well, as great as an Atari 5200 joystick can work. Anyhow, let's press start here. So the first thing that you'll notice is that it actually looks really good. And the sound effects are really cool. Really digging those. And you're about to hear something really cool. Yeah, that's right, there's speech in this, just like the arcade original. Isn't that cool? I mean, it's kind of raspy sounding. It doesn't sound as good as the arcade original, but that's just coming out of the Atari 5200. There's no add-ons or anything. It's built right into the cartridge. And I think that's really cool. Now, as far as the rest of it goes, the controls are kind of awful. Because you have like the non-self-centering joystick. And you really need it to be more snappy and precise. And sometimes like you'll find yourself continuing to run when you don't want to. And you have to really jerk the joystick just right to get the diagonals. And it better be the same direction you're running, because you can see how easily I got killed. And it's not me, it's the joystick. Like it's just not good for this game at all. If you have this game for your 5200, I really sincerely hope that you have a different joystick sitting around for it, because the original joysticks are just garbage with this game. And you know, it also really sucks that the game stops when it talks. Like, I hate that. Like, it really takes you out of the moment. We're playing it again here. Hopefully I'll do a little bit better this time. See what I mean though? It just stops. And it's kind of frustrating. But man, it does look really good, doesn't it? Ugh. Ah, this joystick. We're playing this on my JVCD series through RF video. I unfortunately don't have my 5200 AV modded, but I would like to do that someday soon. Oh jeez. I am not doing good at this one today. But yeah, it's for sure the joystick. Anyhow, there's a look at that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at all four of them again, and I'll give you my final assessment of them all. Now that I've played them all, I'm going to go ahead and rank them for you. I love Berserk. Berserk is such an amazing game. I loved playing it back in the day in the arcade, and I still enjoy playing it. This particular cocktail right here plays really, really well. The monitor looks like brand new, and since I fixed up the player one control panel with the new grommet and everything, it just plays so well, so well. However, I was just borrowing this cocktail with the option to buy it. I've decided not to buy it simply for the fact that it is fairly expensive, and I have other games that I need to bring in, and I need to clear up some space for those other games. And, you know, honestly, I prefer the stand-up version to the cocktail. I mean, look at this thing. It for sure looks really nice. It looks cool. It plays well and everything. But the stand-up version is just that much more cooler. And so I do have a Stern cabinet upstairs that I'm considering turning back into a Berserk someday. And that would be a lot of fun. But since I'm not keeping this, it's fairly important to know that I have a decent port. So let's start with third place. Third place goes to the Atari 5200. Now, this port looks really good. I think it looks the most like the arcade original, and it's super duper cool that it has the speech involved. Like that's super cool, man. But when that speech goes off, it stops the game. And I don't like that at all. It takes you out of the moment, and it doesn't feel right. I don't like that. And more importantly, the joystick just feels like garbage with this game. It's not self-centering, and so sometimes you'll go to shoot a robot and your guy will just run in that direction, and it'll just keep running in that direction until you change directions. And you really have to jerk the joystick around to get it to perform somewhat close to your liking. And it's just a real shame because it's a really good port otherwise. It looks really good. Sounds are decent. The speech is super cool. But yeah, between the speech stopping the action and the way the joystick feels, unfortunately, it gets third place. In second place, we have the Vectrex version. Now, this version right here plays really well. It especially, like, the diagonals and everything on the Vectrex joystick is just spot on. Like, I mean, everything about the controls are just spot on. However, it just seems a little too far detached from the original. Like, I mean, obviously it's Berserk. It looks like Berserk. It plays like Berserk. But it doesn't look like Berserk enough. And it just it's a little weird, you know, Berserk with vector graphics. But that is cool. And I do love the Vectrex, and I love vector graphics. And so it gives you a different way to play Berserk. It doesn't have speech, unfortunately. But, I mean, that's pretty cool. And most importantly, it plays really well. And so I'm giving second place to the Vectrex, which leaves the last one here, the Atari 2600. This was the first authentic port to come out of Berserk. And I gotta say, I think this one looks and plays really well. Like, I'm super impressed that you're able to get such a good experience out of the Atari 2600. Like, I mean, this system it's weak, it's old, the specs are really low, but they're able to get this out of that. And I mean, if you look at the two comparatively, they look pretty close. I mean, yeah, like I pointed out earlier, the graphics are much bigger on the 2600. But yeah, it just plays really well. It is a little bit easy. There are other game options, as I pointed out, but overall, it has a good combination of gameplay and just overall presentation. Uh, I have to give it to the Atari 2600. It just does a really great job. And something else that I haven't pointed out is that the Atari 2600 version is significantly cheaper than the other ones nowadays. Like, I mean, you can get a copy of Berserk for the Atari 2600, anywhere from free to a couple bucks for a loose cart. I think I paid like 25 cents for my copy, and it's in really good shape. Whereas like the Vectrex version, kind of expensive, and same with the 5200 version. So yeah, there you go. There's my overall assessment of the arcade classic Berserk, along with its original authentic ports. Let me know in the comment section if you agree, if you disagree, if you happen to think, man, I don't know, maybe you think that the Vectrex version is better than the Atari 2600 version. Or maybe you think that the 5200 version is best and it doesn't bug you that the speech stops the action. And, maybe you're really used to the Atari 5200 joystick and so that doesn't bug you. I don't know. You tell me. I've met people that actually prefer the Atari 2600 version over the arcade original. And so, I don't know, man. I like them all, but I don't think that there is really any comparison to the original one. And the original one really is the best. But if you don't have room for an arcade game or you don't want to drop that kind of money, my suggestion is going to be the Atari 2600 version.